Today on the show, we throw scapegoats under the bus, suffer for the sake of the truth, and take a mind trip beyond the stars. Welcome back to Lore Party's special coverage of the Halo television series. On this limited run of the Lore Party podcast, we'll be providing in-depth recaps of each episode of the new Paramount Plus series based on the timeless sci-fi shooter franchise. And boy, oh boy, today we have a lot to say.
Yeah, I mean, I like this last one. That was pretty strong. Oh, by the way,
We should probably introduce ourselves,
Yes.
I guess. I mean, you're on episode 6, but you should know who we are by now, right?
Yep, I'm Kevin.
I would sure hope so. My name's Jaden, and Connor.
I'm
what
Connor.
happened? Fooled you. That was a test, and you all passed because immediately you thought to yourselves, "That's not right.
That's not true.
That doesn't add up. That doesn't sound right."
See, we're exposing the truth in today's episode.
Exactly.
See what I did there?
Yeah, there you go.
I hate myself. Anyways,
This episode's called Solace, and I feel like it does kind of live up to the name.
Yeah, actually, I
Yeah.
think I did, and I did feel some solace at the end. I think it's
I
aptly.
found solace in the fact that we didn't have to go to Madrigal once this episode. It was fantastic.
It was on a pretty linear path. Like it stayed on the rails. It didn't. We had some whiplash on prior episodes where we're like,
Yeah, it was pretty
getting
bad.
flung from A plot to B plot and getting turned around. And it was nice on this one to just stick to the main plot, which was cool. So let's just get straight into the recap. I'll paint the scene for us here. Episode 6, opens on John, the man himself, Master Chief. Not a flashback for once. This actually might be the first. Well, there's memories involved, but not a full back in time sort of scene, which is cool. We see John, present day, just sitting silently. He's sitting there on a bench or a stool or whatever, and it seems like he's really lost in thought. He's just sort of sitting there, and he's like sorting through a lot of mental exhaustion, and he's thinking about the painful childhood memories that had been unearthed for him by the second artifact that was discovered on Eridanus 2. We dealt with all that last episode, and in his memories, he's thinking about his kidnapping as a child, the buried secrets of the Spartan program, and he sees Halsey from across the room. He kind of like latches onto her like in the present, like she's not a memory, she's real, and he just kind of stares at her, and he thinks about how she recruited him, if I could put it politely.
Mhm.
But then he's snapped out of his memories when Kai's hand grabs his shoulder, and we're suddenly back in the real world, back in the present, and we're on Halsey's science ship flying back to Reach, and Kai is just fighting for her life. At the end of episode 5, she was gravely wounded by Covenant forces on the surface of Eridanus, and she's clinging to life and in a tremendous amount of pain. And Riz and Vanek are just doing everything they possibly can to keep her alive. They're just
They are pumping her full of so much drugs.
They're doping her hardcore with painkillers.
Which you have to ask, maybe that's a side effect of her getting that pellet removed. Maybe like pain is now even more enhanced too. She's like, oh shit, this is what dying feels like.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like maybe without the hormonal implant, like pain's, harder for her to block out now. Maybe it's kind of scarier to her. Her feelings are harder to keep in check.
Because they stuck her with like 3 of those pins of morphine,
Yeah.
man, or whatever space opioids they have now.
Clearly, they've been at it for quite some time.
Yeah, and also like Riz and Vanek, they keep yelling at her like, just block it out. What are you like? They're like almost kind of confused as to
Work, damn it.
They're like confused as to why she's not just calming down and like letting herself heal. It's like that's what Spartans are supposed to do. They're supposed to just sort of quietly fight through the pain, and she's not doing that. So yeah,
And then when Kai finally stabilizes, John ends up going straight to Captain Keyes and expresses regret for failing to keep the second artifact out of Covenant hands, which is kind of like, wait a minute, what about her? Like, my process was just like, whoa, you're like, okay, cool,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's priorities.
she's fine now. Now I'm gonna go talk about this other thing. Like, I was like, oh, okay. But of course, Keyes just kind of reassures John that, his actions saved more than 100 lives, including Keyes himself. And then he tells John that there's going to be a chance to recover the artifact soon, and that, don't worry, you'll be fine, and it's okay. And it's weird because he's, reassuring the Spartan that, everything's going to be okay, which is clearly not, a normal thing you do to a Spartan.
Yeah. Yeah, Keyes is being a good friend here. John blames himself for, the way the mission went back there, and it's being a good friend. Just, you did the right thing. You saved lives. You should be proud of yourself, and don't worry, we'll make it.
He's literally like, I'm only alive because you helped me.
Yeah, and we'll make it right. Don't worry.
And, these aren't the only passengers on the ship, There's also, in addition to all the dozens of wounded UNSC personnel, there's also our favorite character, Makee. She's at the end of the last episode. She dropped in on a drop pod, and they were just like, "All right, let's take her back because this is strange. That's a human, not a Covenant." And she's, it's kind of funny. It's like second verse, same as the first. She's like, "All right, step 1, get captured." She's like, "This time, step 2, I won't kill everyone."
Let's try this again
immediately.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'll just be taken. I'll just, and they're even they're debating whether or not she's a captive or a rescued person, and they're still trying to figure that out.
Right.
And meanwhile, while she's laying unconscious, she's whispering in Sangheili, and Miranda's recording it. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Oh, that's a good catch. Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently, Zoom audio recording devices still exist in the future, which is good for them. And they're being put to great use because they recorded her whispering, which we'll get to that in a little bit.
That's right.
And while he's staring at her, John's not feeling the best.
Yes.
And Cortana even lets him know, hey, your vitals have been going down ever since you touched the artifact. And he, of course, John being like, shut up, Mom, I'm fine. Shut up, new Mom, I'm fine.
Yeah, don't worry about me.
And he just tries to walk away.
Yeah. Shrugs it off as he always does, and he waits patiently until, the ship finally lands back on Reach, and, everyone starts filing off the ship, kind of wounded are being hauled away, body bags are being hauled away. It's people marching away from a barely survived battle. That's the vibe going on right now. And but John hangs back on the ship, and he waits until it's basically just him and Halsey alone on her vessel. And he waits until she walks into her lab alone, and he immediately just walks up, closes the door, and then sabotages it to lock her inside. And obviously Halsey notices this, and immediately she's like, what's going on? Let me out. And Cortana shows up too, and she's demanding an explanation, like, John, what are you doing? So he has both of his moms kind of scolding him. John, let her out. What are you doing? Drop it.
Shut up, Robo Mom. I'm trying to kill real Mom.
Drop it. and so John starts explaining, he goes on this history lesson about how UNSC ships were designed, and he explains this flaw in the UV decontamination system that kills microbes and stuff like that. And he's basically explaining how he's going to rig the ship to kill Halsey by radiation overdose and then make it look like an accident, pretty much. That's what it's
literally melt her and liquefy.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
Like everything else the UNSC does, they do it terribly, and it ends up killing people.
Well, yeah, loopholes. No technology's perfect, I guess, but he's just explaining, this is what I'm about to do to her, and it's going to be ugly and gross and horribly painful.
You better stop me, Cortana.
Exactly, yeah.
You better stop me.
So the timer is counting down. Halsey starts frantically pleading for her life, and Cortana begs John, let her out. And John's only response is, make me. And he's kind of testing her, if you were designed to control me, then go ahead and do it. Make me let her out. And, Cortana keeps insisting, I can't do that. I can't make you do things. I can only shut you down if you're a danger to yourself or others or whatever. That's my only function right now. And so John, starts to, at the last second, he's starting to believe Cortana. He's suddenly, over time, he's starting to realize, okay, maybe she can't make me do things. So he, at the very last second, throws the door open, saves Halsey's life, but kind of leaves her with a very grim warning. I was only trying to assess Cortana's abilities. I was testing her, but I'm not going to save you from what comes next. Is his parting words with Halsey. And
that whole sequence kind of confused me because when Cortana's introduced in the show, wasn't that her original function, was that she was supposed to be able to take over him completely?
Eventually, yes. That's what they were building up to, but they hadn't really implemented that ability in her yet. So I think at this point, she literally is not able to take over his mind yet. that's just kind of like the end stage that Halsey had in mind. But I think Cortana was being honest when she said, I can't literally hijack your body and make you do things. That takes like further experimentation and development to make that.
She hasn't gotten that software update yet.
Yeah,
Fucking
basically,
Microsoft.
that's what I think.
Yeah. So then after that insane, crazy scene, we cut back to Maki being placed under guarded observation and offers intel on the artifact and then like what the Covenant plan on doing with it. And only if Master Chief will talk to them. Like it's like I'm only going to tell you this if I talk to the big guy. And Fleecom's brass debate, they have like this big debate on like, John, is he truly, a good weapon now? Like, are any of the Spartans good weapons now? Can they be trusted? Like, it's not just John. They're now like looking at the whole program.
Right.
And after the loss of the new artifact and then, these, quote, malfunctions of Spartans, the High Command is considering removing the Spartans from Parangoski's oversight. And this is all together. They're all in a room, kind of like observation room or something like that, like looking over where everybody's running around trying to figure out what's going on. And then we hear the quote, the committee wants results or they'll find someone to blame. And so the whole thing is like, that's Parangoski's quote. Like the committee is so invested in results. They don't care about like the death of, so-and-so, the amount of people that were saved, like from John not, taking the artifact. They just want results. That's all they care about.
Yeah. There's a lot of political wheeling and dealing going on in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
People like kind of stabbing each other in the back and protecting their reputations. That's a big theme right now.
Yep. And the other thing, too, when Maki was like getting her interrogation done, she's like, I'm only going to talk to one person. I'm only going to talk to Master Chief. And so, of course, they're like, in that big debate, they're like, we can't trust him. And, Halsey's like, let's just give him a shot. So they give John, like, they're like, all right, John, go in there. And there's just like a really funny, when he's about to go into the cell, this guard's just like, hey, man, I don't trust her.
Right.
It's like, good for you, man.
Thanks for chiming in, buddy.
Who would have thought the lady who launched her own drop pod is not to be trusted? Who would have fucking thought?
Yeah, like he specifically says like those squid heads, referring to the Sangheli. He's like, they never take prisoners. So it's really sus that they let this human live with them for so long and then they just cut her loose. Like this one random Marine in the hallway is like just not buying it. So it's like, all right, thanks, dude. Well noted. Yeah, duly noted.
It's like that. Thanks, man. And John really just does like a, all right, that was weird. Anyways, so he goes in and he introduces himself, and Maki is like instantly just like, ooh, you're the demon. And it was like, all right, stop staring at me. Give me the intel. She's like, well, but I'm curious about you. And he's like, come on, just tell me where they would have taken it. And she I don't know if she's lying yet. We don't know yet, but she was like, oh, it's on I don't even remember how she pronounced it. It was like Roskotska or something.
Roskotska, yeah, something like that.
Kotska, yeah, in the Aspero system. And John's like, yeah, you're making that up. He's like, hey, I can't even pronounce that. You're making that up. He thinks like me. And she's like, no. And not only that, but we're more alike than you think. And it's like, wait, what? He's like, she says like, you and I, we both bring those artifacts to life. And when she says that, like, it totally reminds him of what Reth said back on Rubble with Soren. He's like, you are a human, but more so, you bring them to life.
Yeah, John has a brain blast moment and goes back to.
Yeah, John like kind of goes like, oh shit, we are connected, and I don't like that. And he's also tripping a little bit. He's tripping balls a little bit. He's like, the Cortana sickness is that the sickness that Cortana told him about is kind of making him walk kind of funny, and he's like sweating a little bit. It even seemed like. So he was like, give me Captain Keys, and he runs out of the room.
Right. He's not at 100% in this episode at all. He's like just like doubled over, hunched over in pain half the time, and yeah, he's bugging out. Like his mind is all over the place, like between the memories that the artifacts have been showing him. And
I was watching this and I said, oh, that's dysentery right there. That's space dysentery he's got.
Well, I kept thinking of the fact that like, not only does he's like, every time Maki's like trying to like be sly, he's just like, just shut up. I just want the info. Like, shut up, leave me alone. Like, I'm not here for this crap. And like, I feel like that's hilarious because it was just you'd think that he would be more interested in me, like, how am I like you? Oh, I need to know. But like, it kind of backfired on them because like he's in so much mental pain and physical like weird shit going on that he's just like, just give me the damn intel, please. I don't even want to fucking be in this room. The lights are bothering me. I got a migraine. Like, get out of here. Like, it was just so funny to watch it just backfire.
It's like making it more effective at interrogation. Like, I'm not in the mood for your shit at all.
You know, it's like that classic, like, you know, like the captured villain, like, is, you know, like, is intriguing to the hero. This one, he was just like, I have to shit. Give me the intel so I can leave.
Despite his mental barriers that he's putting up, McKee does seem to get inside John's head a little bit there, just by revealing that she's referred to as the Blessed One by the Covenant. Like, that sparks that, you know, memory of. By the way, she's just giving away everything now. It's kind of hilarious.
Being
upfront. Well, she's trying to reach him. Like, she's kind of being direct with him, but no one else, basically, because he's her target. So, but you know, that obviously shakes him up a bit, remembering what Reth told him back in the rubble. That was obviously a big freak out for him, and remembering that's not good for his mood. So he storms out, but he does pass along the tip. He passes along McKee's intelligence about the Aspro system, and so Captain Keyes. It's nice to see Captain Keyes like really in a command position, calling the shots, and he's kind of like in the
he's finally doing something, which is
he's
nice.
In the war room with all the UNSC intelligence people around him, and he's like, I want thorough scans of the Aspro system right now. Every satellite we have point in that direction. Like, it's cool, and so like everyone's bustling to make this happen and gather intelligence and all that.
Which I guarantee that him doing like turning everything to the Aspro system means the Covenant are going to sneak up on Reach. I bet that's what they're going to play.
Ooh, that's plausible.
They're gonna play it that way, and I'm gonna be like, "Are you serious? You guys didn't leave like one satellite to look out into deep space?" Okay, fine.
Yeah, we'll see. But they're looking for a world the Covenant could be hiding on, and meanwhile, John's kind of like back at the first artifact, which is still in UNSC hands on Reach, and he's just staring at it, and all he can think about is what McKee told him, is that we are the same. He's kind of just hung up on this idea that he and McKee have something in common, and it's unsettling him to say the least.
Yeah. And so then all of a sudden it cuts to Halsey, and Halsey's being deposed by like a military lawyer who's investigating the illegal cloning techniques, you know, outlined in Halsey's earlier research materials. And it's like, you know, typical cop interrogation style room kind of situation.
But with a twist.
We find out that Parangoski, who is in another room, is watching, but it's really cool. They're secretly watching the deposition through like this weird, like, I guess they just put these little things on their head,
like
and then they're
like a VR neural link thing.
Yeah, it's like a VR neural link. They're in the room, but nobody else can see them. It's just them talking to each other.
Yeah, so it's Parangoski, and then we see Captain Keyes in another corner all of a sudden. Right. And so then we find out that Parangoski ordered this like special investigation, you know, to give to Admiral Hood and the committee to find their scapegoat that they're finally looking for. So Parangoski is not fucking around. She's like, I'm not gonna be the scapegoat. I know exactly what to do. And basically uses Halsey the entire time.
Right.
And so John all of a sudden interrupts and demands to speak to Halsey privately, like walks right into the room, is like, out, I want to talk to her. And so the lawyer leaves.
I love how rank doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't at all.
Really
the lawyer definitely outranks Master Chief, but he's like, I'm not going to argue. Like, with
1,000%. Like, I think like the lowest you can be to be a lawyer in the Navy, at least now, is like a lieutenant or captain. So it's just amazing that he's just like,
yeah,
I have decided that you don't get to be here anymore. It's like, yes, sir.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with a 7-foot cyborg who could like pull my head off my shoulders. Like, I'm not going to argue with him.
Pretty much. And what's cool was also Parangoski and Keyes are still watching. And so when Chief walks in, Keyes at first is like, hold on a second, we need to stop this. And Parangoski's like, no.
Let's see what happens.
Let it happen.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Parangoski's like, he's tried to kill her twice now. Maybe the third time's the charm.
We'll just let him do it.
Wash my hands of all of this.
Solve our problem for us. Let him do it. Yeah. What comes next? So I love this scene. Like it's finally John really having it out with Halsey, kind of like about everything he's been stewing over for so long. It's a cool scene.
Yeah, he doesn't even like sugarcoat it. He just comes in, sits down, and goes, "Why did you do it?" And Halsey actually, I think this is the first time we ever actually see her like lay all of her cards on the table. Which I think it's because, like, even with her brain, she's like, all right, I either tell him the truth or I fucking die, because I think he's
There's
done
no
with
way
me.
out of this one other than, yeah.
Yeah, so she explains that, like, her whole entire goal was to, and in her words, like, kickstart the next step in human evolution in order to, like, unite and advance the species, to try to stop mankind from killing itself. And she's a mad scientist, because, like, in her mind, the only way to do that is to, of course, obviously, kidnap children from their families and replace them with flash clones that would all die of seizures, like a couple of days afterwards. And then all the doctors would go, "Oh, I guess they just died of seizures," because, you know, that's the obvious next step in that plan.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly how it's explained in the books, where the Spartan candidates were identified, secretly obtained, and then their families, I guess, get closure, quote unquote, when what they think are their children die of seemingly plausible causes, like, oh well, seizures do happen and children do die sometimes, and so no one's going to ask questions.
And honestly, it worked because they only kidnapped 76 of them and across all the galaxy, so it's like, yeah, you know, that's kind of weird, but then I guess it happens. But my favorite part about this scene, and it's my favorite part because, again, rank doesn't fucking matter. Keyes and Parangoski are watching this, and then fucking Miranda just shows up out of nowhere.
Again.
Also in the interrogation room using the spy tech. And I'm like, I gotta assume the spy tech is secret. I gotta assume that not everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
Again, rank has nothing to do with anything.
Well, because she's not even a commander in the show anymore. She's a doctor. Like,
we don't even really know what rank she has, if any. Like, I assume she has some rank. You can't be a military scientist.
She wears a military. She wears the uniform that she wears in the games, which makes me go, oh, she's Commander Keyes. But no, they keep calling her
like a
doctor
lieutenant or something. But
yeah, unless she's a doctor commander. But at the same time, it's like she just disregards the worries and cares of an admiral and a captain, and just pops in on their Zoom call. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, come on! Anyone else did that, they'd be court-martialed. Yeah, and like she's watched this, and so she learns, like, it's what she was like. I always knew my mom was an asshole, but, like, I now know that she's a super duper asshole. And, you know, finally, Halsey lays it on the table, and John just kind of looks at her, and Halsey's like, come on, you know, together we can finish what we've started. And John's like, I'm gonna finish it, but I'm gonna finish it without you. I'm done with you. And he just leaves, and he leaves her there.
She does make her case pretty thoroughly, though. Like, she kind of, like, argues that the Spartans are a necessary force for, like, ending conflicts among people, which tracks with the original canon, you know, origins of the Spartans, which was to wipe out insurgencies. So it kind of tracks with, like, the show explanation. But, you know, telling John about it, she kind of makes that ultimate argument that Jaden, you and I have talked about on earlier Halo episodes when we were talking about the game lore, was just, you know, the ends justifying the means. It's kind of the classic theory she appeals to, and she says,
classic Halo conundrum.
Quoting from the episode, she says, any challenge to the status quo is always thought to be morally reprehensible until people see the benefits, which is basically ends and means. So she's like,
yep,
when we bring about peace and unity, people won't care where the Spartans come from, basically.
I never thought about this, but Halsey is definitely a fan of eugenics.
Yeah.
It's
hard to avoid.
Yeah.
It's very, you know, it's what I'm like, wow, I never thought about that, but yeah, man, she's a fucking asshole.
Another point that's important to remember is when John asks Halsey who else knew, who was involved. Like, he wants her to name names, like who else kidnapped us and, you know, wiped us out of history and all that. And
which you know, Keyes was like, ooh, like grabbing his collar.
Yeah,
like,
he was sweating bullets when John asked that question. And
it's like, my ex-wife, my ex who hates me, and I kind of don't like her, now holds my life in her hands.
I mean, also, like, we said, like, you know, Miranda wasn't happy, but when they, like, take the, you know, the little thingies off in the room and, like, they're not in the VR thing anymore, she looks at her dad, and you can just see, like, the hatred and anger and just, like, all those things.
Well, the thing is, when John asks that, Halsey's answer is she doesn't name names. She doesn't. She conceals Keyes and Parangoski's involvement. Like, they have that look on their face, like they obviously were involved, and so Halsey kind of covers for them. And so when the spying ends, Miranda looks at Miranda looks at her father. For me, maybe this is subjective, but I didn't really see. I saw more like outrage at what Halsey did. I don't think she really knew that her father was involved.
I think she knows, but she doesn't. Like, it's like just because he wasn't named.
It's like she suspects. She suspects, but it wasn't confirmed.
Yeah,
Is
basically.
what it looked like to me.
See, I saw it more of like she had all those feelings about Halsey, but also like she like has this. I don't know. It came off like she was looking at her dad like, you totally knew. Like, I have a feeling you knew about this. Like, I have like, there's no way you didn't know about this.
My explanation for this is if Miranda was convinced that her father was involved with what Halsey just copped to just now, there probably would have been a scene soon after this where Miranda confronts Captain Keyes immediately. Like, she would probably call him out on it, but she doesn't. She just sort of seems to hold it against Halsey and no one else because Halsey covered for Keyes and Parangoski. So that's what it looks like to me.
Well, my theory is a little different. I think from what we've seen of Miranda and her father, Miranda has always seen her father as the upstanding light in her life. You know, you've got Halsey doing all this shady shit, never being there for her, never being honest with her, never being open with her. And so she always saw her father as someone who didn't bullshit with her. And now she's finding out that her father is just as bad as her mother. Her hero literally was in the room basically admitting to being culpable in the worst thing that she's ever heard anyone ever do. And I think the moment of like, I have no parents that I can look up to as who have the moral high ground because both of their hands are dirty. And I think that's what she's realizing right then and there, because she doesn't say anything. She just immediately walks out of the room.
That's possible. Yeah. I don't feel like I've seen definitive proof that like her relationship with her father has been destroyed by this yet. I think it'll come back later though. I think it'll be kind of developed upon, and I think she'll probably find out that he was involved too, like definitively, like with proof, like because again, Halsey covered for him, so she doesn't know for sure yet. But I think the suspicion is there. Yeah, I guess we'll just have to see. But in the hallways right after this, Miranda kind of bumps into John, and it's funny because like she obviously feels very sorry for him. She just looks at him with like tears in her eyes, like cause she knows what happened to him as a child, but he doesn't know that she knows. So like he doesn't know that she was spying on that meeting. So it's kind of like she's being tender and like reaching out to him emotionally, and he's like not sure why because he doesn't know that she saw that. So it's funny, like there was like a one-sided mirror situation there. But in either case, John kind of brushes her off, like he's like, oh, don't, whatever your concern is, I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, it can wait. Instead, he asks her to run tests on McKee to sort of assess her connection to the artifact. Like, we need to find out what her deal is and how she's connected to the artifact. And it's also like we get the sense that he's asking her to do something to just distract her, keep her busy, so that he can duck away into a corner and struggle to get his shit together. Because he walks down the hallway, kind of stands in an alcove where no one can see him, and he like almost hunches down to the ground. He almost like slides to the ground because he's like, in pain, physically and mentally, and he's his visions keep kind of coming up, and Cortana once again sort of points out, hey, you're kind of dying. You should let me help you. You should let me do something. Let me fix it. And John makes it clear to Cortana like he doesn't trust her and he wants nothing to do with her. Kind of like John has told Cortana to fuck off and leave him alone before, but this time it feels a little bit more final and a bit more forceful. Like leave me alone. I don't need you. And he kind of storms off again. He's doing a lot of storming off today.
Yeah, he keeps doing that whole like, I don't want to talk to you, Mom. Slams the door and like, leave me alone. Get out of my life. Like, he keeps doing that to everybody, but he doesn't do it to one person. He doesn't do it to Kai.
That's right.
And he literally, right when he does this to Cortana, he then goes straight to Kai and seemingly like explains to her the secret of their childhood. Like he literally just goes like, so here's the deal. We were kidnapped, this and that. And he like starts like talking about it with her. Yeah. And obviously Kai's kind of, you could say, upset about this whole revelation.
Yeah.
Being like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew we weren't supposed to. It's like literally like it's hilarious in my opinion. Like just the way the plot points are just like, oh my God. But Kai then is, obviously upset and tries to get up, and John's like, whoa, chill. I'm going to handle it. We still have each other, and I'll handle it. Don't worry about it. You get better, and then I'm going to be the one who takes care of everything.
He leaves her with like this encouragement, like, we're still Spartans. No matter what happened to us, we still are capable of, handling whatever is in front of us. And he leaves her. I think his parting words are, "I'm going to need you." So it's kind of like he's sort of promising himself and also promising Kai that I'm not going to do this completely alone. I'm going to need your help. So get well soon, basically.
Yep. And from there, we cut over to Parangoski, and she's meeting with Halsey to basically lay the cards on the table. Like, hey, you want to fuck me? I can fuck you. Yeah. Like, we both have nuclear weapons pointed at each other's heads.
Let's talk this out like grown women right now. We could fuck each other's lives up big time if we wanted to. Yeah. Let's just be real.
Basically comes down to, if Parangoski has Halsey arrested, Halsey has the records necessary to implicate Parangoski in the exact same crimes.
Take her down with her.
And Parangoski basically goes, I don't care. Like, here's the plot twist you didn't expect. I don't care what happens to me. So here's what you're going to do. You get to go have your own little lab on one of the remote moons, and you hand over the reins of the Spartan program and the project of the artifact to Miranda. And she basically says, this way, John gets justice, the committee gets their scapegoat, and you get to continue your research.
Yeah.
And it's basically like, and again, Parangoski's basically like, you can bust me for the other shit. I don't care. I really don't. Like, you're done. Either way, this gets you out of my hair. And and like, literally at that moment, she's like, all right, hey, guards. Yeah, her clearance is already revoked. Get her fucking to her room to pack her bags.
It's such an awesome power move.
Yeah.
Like, it is so cool.
Takes her clearances away, just shuts her down. And it's also kind of like, it's even like it keeps Parangoski safe too. Because like, I'm not having you arrested. I'm like, you're keeping your career. You're just going to be away from me. We're gonna like have this distance between us, and I'm not sending you to prison, so you have no reason or basis to send me to prison too. So it's kind of like she just disarms her, like does this like takes the bullets out of Halsey's gun. It's ridiculous. It's Parangoski does her checkmate masterstroke here. It's pretty cool. While Halsey's being placed under house arrest, pretty much, Miranda is taking blood samples from McKee, and is also just sort of absentmindedly like, hey, while we were at it, why don't you help me translate some Sangheili communications we have? And McKee's like, sure, I'll they're just making small talk really, but Miranda's trying to build some trust and get some more work out of McKee, get some more assistance out of her. John's there too. He's sort of just watching over the blood sample process.
And my favorite part about that is when she goes, hey, a ship got attacked and they sent off a transmission, and it was in Sangheili. Right. It was garbled. Any chance you want to listen to it? And Maki's like, ooh, like does like a Scooby-Doo, like, oh, what?
That's crazy. I can't believe a ship got attacked.
I never sent a message from that ship in Sangheili.
I wasn't there. What are you talking about?
But while they're saying that, they only speak Sangheili the entire time.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
That would be very funny.
So while this is all happening, just this conversation between Miranda and McKee, John is there, and he seems like now. Earlier, he seemed in charge around McKee, like he was, kind of, here's how it's going to be. You're going to talk, and I'm going to listen, and you're going to help us out. But now he's kind of like uncomfortable around her. It's almost like he's like, a puritanical priest in the 1700s, and she's like a witch, and he's like, away with you. And he's just like scared of her and like, just keeping his distance from her. And it seems like just being around her, he's having this like breakdown again. And so he runs off to kind of get himself checked out by a robo-doc. Basically, he like runs a health diagnostic on himself, and it comes back critical, as in, go to the hospital right now, dude. Like, you're about to fucking die. And so, as he's in the ship getting tested by the machine, he has like kind of a vision of Kwan back when he first met her, back in the first episode, when she had just watched all of her friends and father die back on Madrigal, and she's covered in blood, and she asks him, are you gonna live? And he turns around, it's like she's right there in the room with him. So it seems like his visions are getting worse. Like, they're no longer just memories. It seems like they're manifesting in person almost. And he's freaking out. He's tripping balls. Not a good trip. And his vitals are bad. It's not good times.
So while John is bugging out, Halsey is now packing up all her shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Cortana is kind of locked down in the UNSC network, kind of unable to connect to anyone, not really able to connect the chief as well, Halsey, all that stuff. But Halsey is, Halsey, and is confident that Cortana is going to find a way to free herself from the lockdown and everything.
It's robot me. She'll get out. Don't worry.
Yeah, and it's funny because Halsey's like, this shouldn't be a big deal for Cortana to break, and her creepy assistant's like, well, I created everything here. The whole firewall was my idea, and there's no way she can get. I don't know. That's John Mulaney.
She's like,
for some
and
reason,
you're an idiot.
Yeah, pretty much. But anyway, so then we go to Kai, who is now up and about, kind of, and joins Riz and Vanek in the armory, and seems to kind of struggle with the question of whether or not to tell them like the truth about their families and lives before the Spartan program, and is definitely thinking about it. And they're like tossing around a grenade and shit, and they're like, kind of, I would say they're shooting the shit Spartan style.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, just them hanging out in their own weird militaristic robot way. Yeah. And Kai is like, kind of looks at them and is like, maybe I shouldn't say anything at the moment.
Yeah, that scene to me feels like it was communicating that Riz and Vanek, and I guess generally all the other Spartans other than Kai and John, are kind of in a bubble. Like they live a certain way, blissfully unaware of what they were before. And Kai's really just kind of grappling with the idea of like, do I burst that bubble for them? Like, do I hurt them with the truth, basically?
Exactly. And while this is all going on, Miranda got the keys to a shiny new lab.
Mm-hmm.
Well, new to her. It was used. It was Halsey's lab. And she goes in and she can't log into anything. The only message she gets is from Halsey. It just says, see me.
Drama queen.
Yeah, literally Miranda's just like, drama queen. So then she goes and Halsey's sitting the most awkward fucking human on the planet. Just like, tea? And she hasn't even poured, she's poured tea for herself, but she clearly hasn't drank it. That tea's been sitting there for I'd like to believe that Halsey thought she would get there sooner. So she had poured tea for herself an hour ago and it was cold, and she's been sitting there like an idiot for an hour, but that's probably not what happened. And Miranda's like, why am I here? Halsey she just starts being mean to her, just being like, hey, this thing's dangerous. You need my help. And Miranda's like, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm aware of how horrible it is. I'm also aware of how horrible you are. And Halsey even tries to apologize. She's kind of like, I'm sorry. It was never my intention to hurt you. Yeah. Literally. And this is the best part. Because Miranda fucking walks out, right? Yeah. And then fucking creepy assistant Aiden is hiding in a closet. Which, the way he strolls out, it's like he lives there. I don't know why he was walking so. He was like, honey, how did the date with your daughter go? Jeez. And he's like, so did you get it? And they pull a fucking contact lens camera from her eye.
Batman style.
Yeah, Batman style, that's right, yeah. So, it's, I'll touch on this later. I have thoughts on this scene later, but it probably was the first time Miranda had ever heard her mother apologize for anything in her entire life. That's what.
Yeah, but it was still a fucking lie.
Well, we'll get to that later. I will say, just Miranda's face, she was very truly impacted by this moment. The Dr. Catherine Halsey is apologizing to me. She was stunned by that. But yeah, we'll touch on this later. This was big. This was big in a few ways. But back in her lab, after this scene with her mother, Miranda has, run some tests, and she has found out that John and McKee just so happened to share this extremely rare genetic anomaly in their DNA sequence. They have this some kind of, she just calls it an anomaly. And she says, this doesn't entirely explain your connection to the artifact, but it, kind of points in that direction. And just, she makes it clear, this is so astronomically rare that she says, quote, statistically, you are 2 in a billion. John and McKee have this, connection at a genetic level that, again, out of the many things that have bothered John and shaken him a bit today, that was one of the bigger ones. So he's shocked by that news for sure.
Which again is another big change from canon, because in canon any human can operate these.
Yeah, we've mentioned that. there's the chosen one trope kind of showing up again here, which we've touched on before.
Oh yeah, big time. Which is really funny because I was like, oh yes, because Master Chief needed to be even more special.
Yeah. Now, after we start talking about these chosen ones, now we have to talk about this chosen system called Espero. And guess what? Are the results in? Yes, they're in. What are they? Inconclusive. We have nothing. There's nothing. There. It's just empty. They're like this is a shithole. John, this is like the middle of nowhere of space. So John runs in the room. Maki's sitting there, and John's like, you're misleading the UNSC. Like, he's like freaking out, having like outbursts and stuff, like in the process, like with his body like deteriorating or whatever it's happening, and he's like, he's literally spazzing out. He can't keep his composure or anything like that. He's falling on the ground, and Maki just kind of surmises that the keystone is killing him.
Yeah.
So Maki then demonstrates intimate knowledge of his experiences with the artifact, as if speaking from knowledge themselves. So Maki's like, I know what's going on with you. You're having this and this and this, and like starts explaining things. And John's just like, how do you know that? Like, what? He like turns and is like, whoa, what's going on? Oh my God. Personal experiences, shared personal experiences from touching these things. And then Maki offers to help John find the other keystone, harness the combined power of both artifacts, and John kind of goes to Miranda right away and asks if, he can use the first artifact to find the second, in spite of like the danger that it obviously possesses towards him. And it's something that is real dangerous.
Yeah, he's been like on the verge of death this whole episode. So
literally, he is like organ failure, shutting down, freaking out. Like, he is an absolute mess.
Yeah,
absolutely. And while this is all happening, Cortana, as predicted, manages to contact Halsey. Mm-hmm. She breaks through the lockdown, and she's like, "Oh, hey, by the way, remember how you warned Miranda that the artifact was dangerous? Turns out she didn't listen, and John's gonna try to test it again."
Yeah,
and they're like, so they get to watch via Skype as John almost kills himself.
And they're helpless. They can't do anything about it because they're both kind of on lockdown still. Like, Cortana has limited access. Halsey can't leave her room, so they just have to watch.
And meanwhile, while this is happening, Maki's like, I need to speak to John. And they're like, oh, he's testing the artifact right now, sweetie. And she's like, fuck, he's not. She even pulls out her fucking little like sword switchblade
plasma fingernail thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like about to strike. And then like as she goes to swing, her Microsoft update happens and she falls down with a seizure too. That's what I was going to call it. It's a Microsoft update. Anytime one of these guys gets hit, they both collapse at the same time. And they're like, their vitals are going crazy. And then all of a sudden, John and Maki are standing together on a planet, but not any planet, a planet that mysteriously curves upwards and away from them in a concentric circle, a ring, if you will. And he looks, and John looks at Maki, Maki looks at John. He walks over and gently touches her face. No, we can't sing that song. That guy's suing them right now. So we can't sing that song yet. But we'll get there. We'll get there. And they both have this like loving look in their eyes. Like there's like, whoa, you and I are connected somehow. A connection, if you will, much like the prediction I had earlier. Connor.
Okay, well, to be fair, you said that there would be a love triangle between him, Maki, and Cortana.
I said they would make Maki a love interest. That was my first thing.
I heard triangle.
And then I said that there would be a love triangle. That was part two.
I'm not seeing a triangle yet, so no deal.
Yeah, well, the triangle is yet to form. Right now, all we have is a ring, a halo, if you will. Ha.
Well, wait a minute. So if it does become a triangle, does that mean that you're going to eat a shoe on Twitch for extra life?
Maybe.
Is that what's going to happen?
I did hear someone mention that.
All right,
in the
so
first episode
just
we recorded.
Well, let's wrap up the episode first. The way this...
Okay.
And we have some explaining to do. The artifact eventually powers down and the vision ends, and both John and Maki stop dying. Their vitals stabilize and they're breathing normally again. And Miranda's voice kind of drifts back into the lab, and her the last words of the episode are, "Thought we lost you there, Chief. Where did you go?" And he has this like look on his face that is sort of otherworldly and serene, like he went somewhere peaceful for once. And that's episode 6, Solace. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here, but stick around. We'll be right back. Okay, before we go any further, I will just lay out some context for anyone's confused by, this talk of shoes and eating of said shoes and love triangles. A while back.
Yes, I'd love to hear how you're going to weasel out of this.
No,
Connor.
okay,
yes,
well, yeah, sure. I'm a man of my word, first of all. I resent that remark. A while back, I think it was after the first episode.
It was for episode 1,
yeah,
yes.
We had all watched episode 1. We were talking about it, and Jaden was sharing some fan theories, some headcanon. Some
headcanon internet theories that I had seen online, and they caused quite a bit of stir in the writer's room when I mentioned them, because Connor and Kevin believed that I was the one promoting and coming up with these theories, and I had to explain, no, they are bad theories. I do not like these theories. These are bad theories. The theories that I had put forward is that now that they have what seemed like at the time, this girl leading the Covenant, not just being a part of it like we know now, and that they were going to make her fall in love. So there's 3 theories. One was that she was going to be the Arbiter. Thank God that hasn't happened yet.
Right.
2, that she was going to fall in love with Master Chief. And 3, that there was going to be a weird love triangle between Master Chief, Cortana, and this girl, which we now know is named Maquis.
Right.
Those were the 3 that I laid down. And Connor said, I believe he said, those are dumb, and if they happen, I will eat a shoe.
All right, so specifically what I was referring to was the love triangle idea. Okay, so when you said that the theory you heard, and I will mea culpa, I'll own up to flipping out on you. I apologize for biting your head off, because I did genuinely think that you actually thought these theories were true. You weren't just like repeating them and saying, no, these are stupid, but I've heard them. I got the wrong idea. But when you said this idea of, Cortana and Maquis are going to be in a love triangle with Chief, I thought that's ridiculously, outlandishly, unbelievably stupid. And if they actually write that into the show, I will eat a shoe, like on stream. I will eat something inedible, like a hat or some shit like that. That's what I said, I think. But yeah, I was referring specifically to the love triangle idea, not necessarily just Maquis and John. Maquis and John.
Now, I want to explain the reasoning why. By the way,
sure.
I've seen a lot of shows on the wonderful network, the CW, where anything is possible as long as you're a hot 25-year-old pretending to be an 18-year-old.
True, that's very true.
They just like to make magical combinations of any character they can and make stupid plot lines. Have y'all watched Riverdale? It's a much more interesting show. Season 1 was about a murder mystery. Now they have superpowers for some fucking reason.
Let's get this straight.
Nice.
We want nor have any beef with the CW. We respect what they do there, and it's you can't argue.
The CW is the most wonderful network I have ever seen. They gave me Legends of Tomorrow. Oh my god, that show is fantastic. Every week it breaks my brain. And I'm sad that they canceled it. So yeah, actually, you know what? I do have beef with them because they canceled the greatest show ever.
It's a great network, great shows, but like you can't argue that they do a lot of thirst trapping. Just romantic.
Yes, absolutely.
Like romantic
100%.
plot lines, out the wazoo.
So watching that, I had a feeling they were gonna. We need romance in this show, man. We need I'm over here like you didn't even you don't though.
Yeah. Well, so we're in the back half of the episode now. We've recapped episode 6, Solace. We've sort of caught up on things we predicted earlier on, and we're seeing them either flesh out or still be hinted at. Let's get into just our stray thoughts, observations, things we liked, things we weren't crazy about. I'll go ahead and go first. I just generally really liked this one. This was another solid, not like a peak of the season necessarily. I still feel like episode 5, the previous, was probably the peak so far, but 6 was good. I thought it was a very strong follow-up to episode 5, Reckoning. This one obviously had less action, than number 5. Reckoning had an amazing battle scene, but I think I just liked the character interactions in this one. I thought there was interesting scenes, interesting development of personal relationships and conflicts. Yeah, and this episode just kind of continued to build upon those conflicts and execute on them. So yeah, high points I liked. John's near murder of Halsey was a high point for me. That was unexpected. What I liked about it was that I didn't see it coming at all. Like, So,
Yeah.
well, there was foreshadowing though. In retrospect, looking back, like in episode 5, he lunged at her like he would have killed her if Cortana hadn't shut him down. So this was a natural follow up to that scene, but the way he like trapped her inside and was going to melt her with radiation, I just wasn't expecting that. So it was fun. That was a fun scene. Cool direction for the show to go.
Oh yeah, you thought melting somebody with radiation was fun,
the
huh?
threat of it. No, I wouldn't want to actually see it, but the threat of it was cool.
Don't piss off Connor, guys. Watch out.
I was just saying, I'm still on the train where I still have yet to find a likable character on this show. So when one tries to kill the other, I'm like, good.
I like a lot of people. I like John a lot.
Here's the thing. I hate Halsey.
Sure.
But I like the portrayal.
Yeah, I like the character, not like.
Oh yeah, no, this is absolutely no. Like the actress is doing a fantastic job. The writing is what's getting me at this point. So
I also think the actress that plays Parangoski is Shabana Azmi. She's fucking good.
I love her.
Like,
yeah, she's great.
The bureaucratic feel, like I love it. It's great.
She definitely nails a command presence and like just the poise and the intellect of Parangoski. Like she's exactly what I imagined a TV version of Parangoski would be like. So she's nailing it in the adaptation game, if you ask me. But moving on to like another scene I loved was the confrontation, the like one-on-one conversation across the table where Halsey just comes clean about the Spartan program. I thought it was done really well, and I think it was a good idea narratively to have Parangoski and Keyes and also Miranda, all of them there to sort of witness it and react to it. I feel like they were kind of stand-ins for the audience a little bit. Like, we're here to be a witness to this and make it so, this is becoming known to the majority of the cast. So I don't know, just thought it was written well, acted well, fun scene in general. I mentioned this earlier, Jaden, I think we touched on how we felt about Halsey's quote unquote apology to Miranda for her kind of failings as a mother. I loved this scene for how nuanced it was. To me, I felt like there were layers to what was going on here. We talked about, obviously, like, Kevin, you mentioned, obviously, there was the deception of the camera on Halsey's eyelid or on Halsey's eye. And, so the apology was a pretext for deception. So, like, it was obviously like
it had to be good in order for her to buy it.
It was a cruel ploy. But I think that you can be deceiving someone, like, you can be getting something out of them, but also be genuine about an apology. I think, like,
oh yeah, like I said, it had to be convincing. Otherwise, she would have known something was up,
and not just convincing, but authentic. And what made me feel like, what clinched it for me, what sold the authenticity for me, was when Aiden took the camera away from Halsey and was like starting to, study it or whatever. Halsey just has a moment to herself to like just stare off into the distance and wipe her tears away. And the look on her face was, to me, it was very much, I meant every word of that. I was saying it in order to, spy on, like, we still don't know what the camera was for and what they got out of it. But she was doing it.
I assume it's facial recognition to like override the password or whatever.
Probably, yeah. So she was getting something out of Miranda, but I think she meant every word while she was doing it. So there was kind of a double-edged sword to that scene. So I really liked that. I think it was, again...
Connor, you would not survive in this. I think Halsey would wipe the floor with you.
Halsey would play me like a fiddle, 100%. And that's fine with me. She's smarter than me. I can admit that. She's smarter than a lot of people.
Again, I love how every interaction with John the last like 2 episodes has just been like, yeah, you're smarter than me, but I'm gonna fucking kill you.
You're not smarter than these fists.
It's like, you make a great point, but also gun. He goes, have you know what I've named my rifle? Rebuttal.
So lastly, the scene I loved, the glimpse of Halo at the end. This was such good payoff. I just feel like the last scene where they're on this ring world, like the whole presentation of this scene, the way it was filmed, the sound design, it had this otherworldly quality to me that, it closed out the episode on such a strangely optimistic tone. You know what I mean? Where, like, I've talked before about how this show really has a lot of the window dressing of Halo, but doesn't always have the soul of Halo. And this scene gave me some real Halo soul, I will say, because I felt that same flutter in my heart of like, this is an adventure beyond the stars, and I'm going to see and experience things that defy explanation, and they're like so mystical and, yet tangible, that that is what Halo is to me. And so there was amazing flavor to this for me. I loved how, that scene was shot and presented.
I will give you that. It's a very beautiful shot of something we probably won't see for 2 more seasons. Get the way the pacing of the show is going.
I'm patient. That's fine with me. Like, we'll get there when we get there. I'm in no hurry.
Oh man, I'm just like, when am I? Come on, man. Let's get to this. I'm on. I need to update the chart again. Grunt Watch ended last week. Can we get a round of applause for Grunt Watch ending?
That's right.
Yay for that. But we are still on episode 6 of Johnson Watch.
Johnson
No
Watch.
Johnson.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anywhere to be seen. No Johnsons yet.
Yeah, we're holding out hope. Yeah.
Holding out hope. I'm really worried again that they're gonna stick him in a corner. They're gonna be like, see that guy over there? There he was. You missed him.
Kind of like what they did with Mendez, I guess, like a mention.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But yeah, that's. I mean, you hit all the points that I can think of that I liked this episode. I think I mentioned it at the top of the episode, but I'm glad that we didn't have to sit through the Madrigal stuff.
That's true.
I really do believe that the writers were like, okay, we need 2 storylines because I don't think we can carry the show with just Master Chief.
Yeah.
And then as the episodes kept going, they were like, oh wow, this Master Chief stuff's getting really good. We're really good writers. We're really smart. And then someone went, wait guys, what about this stuff? And they went, oh, well, I don't feel like going back and rewriting it. Let's just keep it. We'll just put less and less in each episode.
I do feel like not being diverted and distracted by the Madrigal arc helped this episode quite a bit too.
Oh my god! So which made me go.
I would agree.
Not only would I have enjoyed the tighter focus from the other episodes, but they would have been shorter and more enjoyable. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
They could have literally made the Madrigal stuff like its own show. And I think I honestly think I probably would have been like, oh, this is interesting. But they're trying to smash it. Again, they're trying to make Game of Thrones. Yeah. They're like, we need to have multiple characters in multiple locations doing different things. Otherwise, people won't pay attention. It's like, or you could just tell a really good story. It's
a prestige TV thing. It's just part of the formula now. I feel like people didn't feel like they need to do it, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kevin, any stray thoughts, observations, points of view from you?
Yeah. I thought it felt weird when he freaked out on Halsey and was trying to kill her. It was cool. Don't get me wrong. I think it fit the story. I think it was really cool. But again, my brain instantly was like, Master Chief wouldn't fucking do that. What? No. But it's fine. I thought it was cool. It fit the story. It made sense that that's something that would be done, I guess, The fact that Maki, had their freaking pinky shit come out, I'm like, you're just giving yourself away now. And now they know you're weaponized, or at least you have some sort of thing. I thought that was kind of, dumb.
Do they not have cameras in that room? They have to have cameras,
well, it just
right?
feels like so many people here are so bad at being spies, or being a fugitive on the run, or whatever.
How are they
just
bad
seems
at?
to be...
This is why the insurgency is so fucking rampant. It's because you guys all suck at your fucking jobs.
It just felt kind of weird. I really did I agree with you, Connor, with the interrogation style scene. It really felt remember. I mean, you can use Game of Thrones as an example, but all the shows that people watch, there's always those plot points. There's the major overarching plot point, and then you have the subplot points, and then you're watching the show and you always want these characters to just I just wish they would all know the one thing they have to know instead of being dumb and not knowing that thing. And kind of how Game of Thrones, where it's the White Walkers, finally, spoiler alert, finally Jon is just the White Walkers, here's the real enemy, and all the characters see it and they're like, oh, it kind of felt like that for the Spartan program, where everybody was like, oh, you fucking did the thing. Oh, that's bad. It felt good to have everybody just kind of hear it. I thought that was cool. I think Cortana going through the system and kind of spying still, it fit pretty well for the whole character thing. Just the pacing for this story in this episode was really good. It didn't feel like it dragged on too long, but it didn't also feel like there was extra fluff as in Madrigal stuff, so it felt good. I gotta agree with Jaden, it felt way better without the Madrigal stuff, and I'm not saying I don't like the Madrigal stuff. It just feels more it could be its own show.
I'll say it, I don't like the Madrigal stuff. I'm sorry. I'm just man,
it's not as good as the A plot.
It's not as good. It's a story I've heard before for something that I
Yeah.
didn't expect.
It's fine. I don't dislike
Yeah.
it, but it's not as good for sure.
I think
There you go.
the Kai stuff was really cool. Like
Yeah.
just Kai, in the beginning, like how it's just like dead silent, and then it does that thing where like in a movie or a video game where like an explosion goes off and it's quiet, and then you hear like the ringing, and then all of a sudden sound comes back and it's insane. And they did that for the
I like that.
first scene. I thought that
was
cinematically
rad,
was
yeah.
really cool. It showed like war, like the aftermath rather than just like, the end heroics bullshit. It shows like people walking around getting blown up and shit, and you're like, oh god, oh, this is hectic. And like even then, like Master Chief is bugging out with all this stuff going on. It's like messing with him, and like it's kind of like when Kai had a panic attack or an anxiety attack in combat. He's having one right now post, and I think that it was good. I thought they did a good job. Yeah, cinematically, that last scene I thought looked really kind of cool. I think there was a little bit too much feathering on the shots. Like I thought the lighting had a little bit too much feathering.
Okay, nerd.
It probably won't look like that when we get to the.
I study film. Like that's I'm nitpicking really.
But no, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm just nitpicking. But yeah,
no, I'm hoping it won't be that feather. It can't be because then people are gonna think it's heaven.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it. But again, it's kind of like a vision. It wasn't really meant to be the actual thing.
Yeah.
I'm not rushing the whole Halo thing though, but I'm not, because again, I've seen the Halo story. I've experienced it. I was Chief, you know what I mean? Like I'm fine with like the lead up stuff, like taking like the whole season to lead up to it, and then like if it ends with like the fall of Reach and them escaping Reach going to the Halo, I'd be fine with that. I'm not like in a rush to see it like this season. I know Jaden is, but I'm not. The romance aspect, which is very obvious what is coming. I don't hate romances in this. Like I'm rooting for, them to do a really good portrayal of the Cortana like Chief style romance. Like I'm really into that. I just think like this random character that like it's like you don't have to do it. It felt like it almost feels like they're doing it like they're forcing it to do it to have it. And I'm like, hey, like you already have that natural thing that's gonna happen. Like you don't need to do this. It doesn't seem like it will serve the story.
You're detracting from the greatest love story in the Halo games, which is of course Sergeant Johnson and 343 Guilty Spark.
Yeah.
Their tender lovemaking in Halo 2 is truly one of the high points of the series, and I feel it's an insult to not show that.
Jesus Christ.
Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, the relationship thing, like the romance thing, I'm just I already know, like we have that, like you don't need to. It was going so well. Nobody had a romance thing. Honestly, the only person that I think would serve to be kind of cool, and I was like, oh, that'd be interesting, would be like a Kai Chief thing, like her having a crush on him.
I'd be happy
that
to see
I
that,
could see as like a story aspect. That would be really cool.
That would make sense.
And like, she loses her shit, and like, something happens, and either she has to get shot or something like that, where like it either Chief takes it too far and he has to get taken down real quick, or because of something, or she does. Like I think that would be really cool, like to have like a tension kind of thing, because they don't know how to express those feelings properly. I think that would add to the whole finding your humanity stuff.
I hesitate to even call the Chief Maquis thing a romance yet. It's hinted that that was a hint at the end. Like they make contact, like he touches her face. Like there's a hint toward it, but like I've always warned against premature shipping. I've never been a shipper. Like if it goes there, it depends on how they pull it off, but I feel like it'll be weird. But like Chief and Cortana was never a romance though. That was always just a very, very close friendship, like a partnership that it kind of defies any labels. That's to me. At least.
Correct.
So like that's kind of how I'm feeling about the Kai relationship though. Like I think it would be really cool. Like when I look at this now, like the way he spoke with her, it's kind of like he's her older brother.
Right.
And she's looking out for him and he's looking out for her. And I think it would be so cool if they played upon that, where like she doesn't trust Maquis, and like the more Chief trusts Maquis, the less Kai does, and Kai like is the one who's like, I don't know. Yeah. And like that, like I could see that as a plot point and like that kind of stuff. Like you have these new Spartan characters that I think they could play with really well in like really cool ways and stuff. But I just think like the whole like making it into this romance stuff can it's not needed.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I see.
To your point, Connor, playing the games, you definitely don't see a romantic relationship between Cortana or Master Chief. Unfortunately, the creators have said multiple times that they didn't play the games, so who knows where they're going to take the relationship between those two characters.
Wrong. They said they looked beyond the games. They said they didn't look just at the games. People have been taking that out of context ever since this show came out. Yeah.
I love poking this because Connor hates it when I bring this up. It's just so funny. He gets so angry.
What do I hate when people are inaccurate and spread misinformation? Yeah, you're right. I am. I do hate that. Just people have made a lot of hay with that statement. They latched on to, people mishear things. They hear what they want to hear. They see a showrunner say, we didn't look at just the games, and they hear, we didn't play the games, or we ignored the games. That's not what they said. They obviously took a lot from the games, but they also took a lot from the books. I've been getting into arguments with people who say this isn't Halo, this has nothing to do with Halo, and I'm like, I'm so sorry that you're illiterate and never read the books. I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm really sad for you that you didn't read the books. Because there's so much shit from the books in this show. So I don't know. It's I'm sorry. That gets me riled up. It's they didn't ignore the games. There's tons of shit from the games here.
I love pressing the button. It's very fun.
Look, Connor, are you having fun?
I am. I like this show. It's getting good. It's getting genuinely pretty good.
Jaden, have you had fun? Wait, don't even answer that because we tweeted that photo of you in Discord saying that. So you have had fun.
At least once.
I've had fun for collectively, I want to say 40 minutes of the 6 hours that I've had to watch this show. So the rest of it has, I'm going to be completely honest, the rest of it has been work. The show, going into the show, so far, my rating of it at the beginning was a 2 out of 10. I'm currently sitting at a 4. I'm hoping to get that up by 7 by the end of the season.
So far, I think we were all at least having some sort of enjoyment out of it,
at least a little,
to a degree. So I'm here for more. Keep it going.
Now, making these episodes with you guys has been an 11 out of 10.
Aww.
Well, that about wraps it up. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and this special Halo series we've been doing. If you did, please take a second to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us grow the show. Be sure to connect with us on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter at lore_party. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back with you guys next time. But until then, we'll see you in Slipspace.